In every hospital, there are stories that never make it into charts, stories whispered in break rooms, passed from one exhausted nurse to another, stories about the patients who change you for better or for much, much worse. This is one of those stories. A story about a young nurse, a dying man, a single tattoo, and the night justice finally caught up a monster. For years, 27-year-old Nurse Amelia Hart had been labeled as too soft, too gentle, too emotional. A good nurse, they said, but not the kind built for trauma care. Her supervisors praised her bedside manner in public, then dismissed her in private. She was overshadowed by louder, colder colleagues who bragged about their toughness. On night shift, Amelia was the underdog in a unit that valued sharp tongues more than soft hearts. And on July 18th, that underestimation nearly destroyed her. It was 2:14 a.m. when paramedics burst through the emergency bay doors with an unconscious man in his late 50s, barely breathing. His name was Jonas Reed. He had a history of violent outbursts, throwing trays, punching nurses, and once breaking a doctor's nose during a restraint struggle. His reputation entered the room before his stretcher did. The other nurses backed away instantly. No one wanted him. The charge nurse shoved the chart into Amelia's hands, annoyed. "You're up, Hart. It's just a dying old man. Try not to cry." Laughter rippled around the station. Amelia swallowed her pride and stepped into ICU room 12 alone. The room felt muted, as if the world outside had suddenly gone quiet. Machines hummed steadily. The smell of antiseptic hung heavy. Jonas lay pale and fragile, his breast shallow, his chest rising with effort. She approached gently, speaking softly, offering him a sponge swab to moisten his cracked lips. For a moment, he seemed like any other scared patient nearing the end. Then his eyelids flickered open and he whispered, "Why you help?" Amelia paused. "Because it's my job. Everyone deserves care." But when she adjusted his gown to insert a central line, something caught her eye. A tattoo inked across his chest. A skull of a wolf, its jaw open, two dripping fangs beneath it. A symbol burned into her memory since she was 12 years old. She froze. Panic surged through her body. That tattoo belonged to the Fong Brotherhood, an ex-con crew feared in her childhood neighborhood. Their leader had been Mason Wolf Fong Reed, a man who ordered the brutal beating of her father for refusing to pay protection money, a beating so severe her father never walked again. Jonas Reed was Mason's older brother, the same brother who held her down when she tried to scream, the same voice that hissed in her ear, "Remember this, the fangs always come back." Now he lay dying in her care. Her hands trembled. Jonas noticed. "You know me," he rasped, a crooked grin stretching over his failing body. She stepped back, her pulse racing. You hurt my family." Jonas's grin widened. "Thought you grew up soft. Guess you stayed that way." Amelia backed out of the room and went straight to her charge nurse. She explained everything. Her family, the attack, the tattoo. The charge nurse barely looked up from her computer. "So what?" "He's a criminal, and you're still responsible for patient care. Stop being dramatic. I'm telling you, he threatened my family years ago. This man. Hart, everyone has trauma. Get back in there." Behind her, someone snorted. "She's shaking, probably gonna faint." Amelia felt a humiliation colder than fear. Once again, she was dismissed. Once again, her voice was nothing. But this time, her fear wasn't in her head. Jonas wasn't done. She knew it. Around 3:20 a.m., Jonas's vitals began to crash. Amelia rushed to his side. As she reached over him, his hand shot up and clamped onto her wrist with surprising strength. His voice was a harsh whisper. "Want to know a secret? Your dad wasn't supposed to live." Amelia felt the air leave her lungs. "We came back, 5 years later, to finish it, but he wasn't home." Her stomach turned. Everything she believed for years was a lie. They had returned. They'd hunted her father again. And Jonas wasn't finished. "Mason," he whispered, turning his head slightly toward her. "Your father's killer. He's out, and he told me he's coming." Her blood ran cold. Mason Reed, out of prison, and hunting again. Before she could speak, Jonas's heart monitor flatlined. Alarms shrieked across the room. The crash team stormed in, but even as his life slipped away, Jonas stared straight into her with chilling final whisper. "Tell your father we're not done." Jonas Reed died at 3:22 a.m. Amelia stood in shock as the room emptied. Rules required her to secure his belongings. She opened his locker to gather his things. But what she found changed everything. A cracked burner phone. On it, a chain of text messages. All from Mason Reed. Messages confirming surveillance on her family. Threats, plans, times, locations, and a final text sent an hour before Jonas was brought in. Finish what we started tonight. Amelia felt the ground tilt beneath her. She didn't hesitate. She printed everything, contacted police, and turned over phone. For the first time, officers didn't brush her off. They listened. They took notes. They treated her as the key witness she had suddenly become. Detectives opened an urgent investigation, and a warrant was issued before sunrise. Less than 48 hours later, police found Mason Reed hiding in an abandoned warehouse 17 miles from her home. He was armed, preparing for something, and exactly where the messages had said he'd be. He didn't go quietly, but he went. Justice didn't just arrive. It crashed through the door. For once, Amelia wasn't underestimated. She wasn't dismissed. She wasn't a soft girl everyone overlooked. She became the woman who helped dismantle a criminal network police had struggled to pin down for years. Her supervisors apologized. Her co-workers changed their tune. They treated her with respect, even admiration. But the lesson she carried wasn't about validation. It was about strength, real strength. The kind born from surviving fear, not hiding from it. The kind that comes from compassion, not cruelty. Her kindness hadn't made her weak. It had saved her family. 3 weeks later, life began to soften back into routine. A normal night shift, paperwork, rounds, coffee cooling too fast. At the end of her shift, Amelia walked into the dim staff parking garage, the echo of her steps sounding lonely in the hollow space. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. She unlocked it. 2 words appeared on her screen. "Nice work." Beneath it was a photo, a fresh tattoo, the same wolf skull, same fangs, but newly inked. Amelia stared at it, her breath frozen in her chest. The fangs were not done, and they had just introduced themselves.